Hey, what's going on, everybody? And I was asked by one of our subscribers by the name of Michael Arcio. I apologize if I said that name wrong. To show some of my favorite covers of the Savage Sword of Conan. And this is kind of cool because I've actually never had a subscriber ask me to show specific books or what I had in my collection. I just kind of ran with it and showed basically what I had and what I've gotten. I mean, I had one person ask to see more of my Predator statues. So I'll probably wind up doing a video on that maybe later on in the future or something. But I thought it was pretty cool that I actually had someone ask to see something, especially that's sort of comic related, but not necessarily, because Savage Sword of Conan the Barbarian it sort of kind of goes into the more of the magazine genre, I guess, kind of like falls in within the genre of Vampirella, creepy, and eerie magazines back then that I used to grow up reading. Now, so I want to go ahead and just kind of show you guys what I have within that era. Now, I also want to say thank you to all the subscribers out there. We hit a little bit over 500 subs, guys, and I tell you what, me and Ray are very humbled by that, because it's awesome that there's so many people out there who are enjoying what we do and seeing some of the things that we have in our collection. And I got a lot of good positive feedback about our show Comic Talk that we air and live stream every Sunday. And if you haven't seen that yet, by all means, I definitely recommend you guys check it out. It's really fun. Just basically for the reason that we have so many people in the comic book community that are on the show, and we have a diversity of people from anybody who collects statues to comic books or just fandom collectors, female collectors out there. So I think it's type of a wonderful forum. And so I really appreciate that. Ray really appreciates that as well, and we're very humbled by that. And I also got an email yesterday from a person by the name of Kyle. So shout out to you, brother. Thanks for that wonderful email, private message email that we got. And it basically talked a little bit about how he was inspired by our Comic Talk episode and our videos. And he's just getting back into collecting. So I will tell you that's very inspirational to me, because that's our whole goal of this channel, is to set out and to hopefully inspire other people and be a part of this community and contribute as much as we can. You know, there's people out there who say they're part of the community but just don't do anything. You know what I mean? I think being part of the community is interacting with the community and doing things for other people within the community. So I think it's just one of those things. If you're going to say you're going to be a part of the community, then interact with it and do things and enjoy it and be part of it. I just want to give a shout out to him on that, and I just want to say, hey, I appreciate that guy. All right, sorry, had to take a little sip of this hot tea. So anyways, a little bit about Savage Sword of Conan. If you guys don't know, Savage Sword of Conan was originally created by a gentleman by the name of Robert E. Howard. And this was way back in the 1930s or so. And he used to do a run of short stories, which he published. And it wasn't until about 1974 when they first published the Savage Sword of Conan the Barbarian #1, which you see right here. Hopefully that glare doesn't take it out. And it actually ran on until about 1995, and just I believe it stopped at 235. And then they also had another magazine called Conan Saga, and I have a few of those in my collection as well. But I was basically asked to show some of my favorite covers, and as you see right here, this is Savage Sword of Conan #1. Now, I remember as a child, this is probably around 9 or 10 years old or so, I was going through my father's books with him, and he was pulling out a whole bunch of Conan the Barbarians, which was done up by Marvel. And he actually pulled some of these magazines out as well. And this is actually what got me started on comic books, was Conan the Barbarian. So, and not only that, but just a love overall of fantasy novels, the fantasy world, the Hyborian Age, the Conan type of storyline. So I actually started out, and then eventually went on to more of the mainstream type of comics like Marvel and DC, Spider-Man, Batman, what have you, and what we have until now. So, but I would say I definitely owe my father for turning me on to getting into this type of collection and fandom that I've always known growing up as a child. So Conan the Barbarian, by Marvel, was what I started reading first as comic books, and then also as the magazine, The Savage Sword of Conan the Barbarian. Of course, I was way too young to be able to collect this, but I eventually inherited it from my father. Now, this is not the exact book that I got from my father. Unfortunately, the original book that I got from him was stolen when I was a lot younger, but I was able to acquire this book off an eBay purchase. I bought this only for $30. And I do plan on actually getting this pressed and slabbed, sending it in the CGC to get that done eventually, because I definitely want to preserve that. Now, a lot of the Savage Sword of Conans are not set in a series of chronological order, as you would see in like the Marvel storyline. A lot of these are a lot of his short stories. If you see Savage Sword of Conan #1 is one of his earlier short stories by Robert E. Howard. Original story called The Daughter of the Frost Giant. Now, that happened to be probably one of his most popular storylines, and the rest of the Savage Sword of Conans are just a depiction of various storylines from his short stories of Conan. Now, there's also reprints of the paperbacks of Conan the Barbarian, so you could probably get those. You could probably still find those out there. I know I have a whole bunch of those in my garage somewhere packed up. But I remember as a child trying to read the paperback novels on Conan, and they were very difficult reading for me at the time. I just really, couldn't comprehend a lot at that young age trying to follow the storyline. I was basically like trying to read Lord of the Rings, And if anybody who's read Lord of the Rings knows that that's a little bit of a difficult reading. It may come easier to some people, but at that age for me it was just kind of very, very difficult to understand. However, reading the comic books and reading the magazine sets made it a little bit for me to understand, and a lot more appreciation and love for that. Now, if you guys notice that Savage Sword of Conan #1, you guys see even Red Sonja's on there. So I think this is an amazing, awesome cover. It really is very nostalgic for me, because I remember looking at this as a child, and my father just handing it to me and saying, you can have this one, you can have that one, and so on and so on and so on. Unfortunately, he never gave me any of his Vampirella collection, but he did give me the Savage Swords, and so it's very, very nostalgic. So the greatest thing about eBay is be able to find this, and for the price I found it for $30. Oh my God, it was almost a steal for me, because I've seen it at conventions sometimes selling for well over $150 to $200, and of course in I guess a fine to fine plus condition, if you will. So definitely, Savage Sword of Conan #1 is one of my favorite covers, being it is one of the very first ones, the first one, and of course has Red Sonja on it, and cover art is done by Boris Vallejo. Boris Vallejo is just an amazing artist. Does some great depictions of almost realistic scenery and so on. I would say probably another one of my favorite artists is Joe Jusko. Joe Jusko does some amazing work, almost really realistic type of covers as well. This is Savage Sword of Conan #141. Love this cover as well. It's just the overall realism and the expressions on the character's face. I think for me personally, it just says a lot. Another cover art done by Joe Jusko. It shows Conan and his fury. It's absolutely just so well done. The male, the female anatomy, and how they represent it. To me, it just goes beyond rapport for approach for anybody that I've seen. Joe Jusko, I've seen him do a lot of other comic book artwork as well, from anywhere from like the Lords of Mars and a lot of those older ones. But like I said, he does a lot of newer ones as well. Warlords of Mars. I'm sorry, I think I said Lords of Mars. There's Warlords of Mars. Here's another beautiful cover that always loved this, and it's very nostalgic to me as well. This is done by Dorian Gray, another wonderful artist, I think, who does such a great job in just capturing the emotions, expressions, and the anatomy of the male and female bodies. So I think this is just overall a beautiful, gorgeous cover. I think also another beautiful Jusko cover right here. It has Conan the Barbarian and what seems to be, I don't know if this is a wench girl in the background or what have you. A lot of the times, if you read these books, the covers really had nothing to portray with the storyline. It is just basically the cover art on there. And of course, not always, but majority of the time, the storylines did not go hand in hand with a lot of the cover arts. But it didn't really matter. It's just one of those things that you really didn't think about. And here's another one by Dorian. As you notice, just the realism of the characters alone, it's just a masterpiece. Absolutely gorgeous. And I would say this is probably the last one I have of another Jusko cover, is Savage Sword of Conan number 200. As I mentioned earlier, the series of the Savage Sword actually went on to 235 issues, and ending in 1995. Unfortunately, you just don't see a lot of this type of cover art anymore. It just, the realism and the expressions of a lot of the characters, as I mentioned earlier, are just not seen in a lot of comic books. Now you can still find a lot of this artwork in a lot of the hardbound books, and let me give you an example. This is a few of the books that I have of Boris Vallejo. This is called Dreams, and as you see by the cover right there, it's just absolutely amazing artwork that he just shows. And I'll just give you a little example of an opening here. Here you go. There's Chevy Chase right there. And I think this is from what is that movie? I forgot. It was an 80s movie. Demi Moore. God, maybe if you guys remember that. But here's just example. He did just different types. Here's one of Vampirella. Isn't that gorgeous? Let me see. Oh, this is one of my favorite pieces right here. Sirens, I believe that's what they call it. Mythology Sirens. I mean, as you can tell, he just does some amazing stuff. I believe also his daughter got into doing a lot of work, very similar type of artistic style that he did. And of course, I'm sure she learned from her father. But this is just amazing. And here's another book, earlier book, probably one of my first ones of Boris Vallejo. It was called Mirage. And it just has a lot of black and white sketches in here, as you see. So it just shows some sketching. And then it gets into a little bit of the coloring. Did a lot of nudity, of course, a lot of sexy type of artwork. Always grew up really having an appreciation for this. To me, it's I don't find it in any way at all negative or to be any type of I don't know what's the word for it, just sexually demeaning in any way. I just think that if you have appreciation for art, you would appreciate anything within this this type of look to it, because after all, I mean, the female or male anatomy, it's just very artistic anyways. All right, so, and let me show you guys one more book that I have of Boris Vallejo, and another artist too. I have a few books on is Luis Rojo. He does some amazing stuff. Now this one's called Twin Vision, and this basically has just a whole bunch of different artistic work on it, and like I said, it's just I just have a big appreciation for a lot of his love, a love for a lot of his work. So. But there are some covers right there. Just wanted to show you of Boris Vallejo and Joe Jusko, Dorian Gray. But they do some amazing stuff. And Conan Saga has a whole bunch of these artists on there as well, and just a few different artists. And you can see a lot of their artwork too on a lot of the earlier heavy metal magazines. And I have a collection of that. So that's it. There's my video, short and sweet, on some of the favorite covers that I have of the artist that does Savage Sword of Conan, and expect me to hopefully get. I've been meaning to do this for quite some time. Sorry about that. I got cut off, but nevertheless, I think that's really much it. Thanks a lot once again. I appreciate all the subscribers, and if there is anything else that any of you guys want to see, a specific item, or if you want to see something for me to do a specific review on, or whatever, feel free to ask. Please, by all means, I have no problem with that. It's not as though I'm running out of material or anything. I mean, there's so much more that I have that I just haven't gotten around to doing yet. And but it's great that you guys help out with the ideas as well. Like, hey, you know, I would love to see this, or this is very interesting, and I'd love to see more of what you have in this part of your collection. So, you know, and I have no issues with that. So thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate that. Thanks for all the subs. And please, guys, take care of yourselves and be safe out there.